Why would that be? The shrink would definitely know, and if he didn't, he'd still explain it to him and calm him down.
"All right. I'll go see my other fighters," Gonzalo said, having noticed that Hagen wasn't listening.
The video blogger and his operator deliberately stood in such a way they could get Hagen on camera. Mike turned around and headed toward the exit. It was time to win. Hagen had seen lots of locker rooms over the last couple of years. He'd walked the distance between the doors and the ring many times. He'd shaken the hands reaching out for him 1,000 times, and seen his face on enormous screens and billboards 1,000 times more. He'd even sign his pictures, decorating his autographs with a bear's paw symbol. It was Gonzalo's idea, who told him,
"Bro, you've got to be original, even when you sign your photographs."
Occasionally, Mike would fail to believe his own near stardom. He was saddled with several fans who'd created a dedicated social network profile. Strangers had started to get really intrusive in what concerned his personal life. They'd somehow get hold of his phone number and would either message him to congratulate him on his victory or asked him to teach them how to fight like him. Former convicts would write him about their experiences inside, while young gang members asked him for advice on how to behave if they got locked up. Hagen would change his number, but the fans kept pestering him incessantly. Either them or outright psychos. This level of public exposure had obviously affected Mike's behavior in the ring greatly. His attentive fans followed Mike's every move and interpreted everything in their own way. For instance, Hagen developed a new habit. After each victory, he would hastily whisper a few words, pressing his fingers to his lips. Some thought he was praying, while others insisted he was reading spells of the sort that would help him win. And yet, Hagen was only saying,
"Look at what I've become, Mom. Thank you."
He was already past the period when he'd been accusing his mother of his every misfortune. She'd just been doing everything she could to protect him, and it had never been her intent to cause him such harm by caring excessively. However, something was different now. Hagen no longer felt the protection of the invisible power that had gotten him through training, street fights, sparring in the ring, the conviction, the jail, more sparring. How could he have managed to get through it all? As he was approaching the octagonal UFC ring, he felt the long-forgotten fear. Not the usual caution that any fighter would feel preparing to face an opponent. This was all-consuming dread. Just like back in the day when Goretzky would shout at him and wave his fists around, or when other children had bullied him in his childhood. He suddenly felt indignant. What the hell was going on with him? "Let's fight!" Hagen shouted, throwing punches at the air and running through the last couple of feet to the ring. This antic helped him get out of his strange state of stupor. It would all be okay. His opponent entered the ring at the same time. Molimo Hip Foster, a Native American from South Dakota, was a favorite of the qualifying fights, just like Hagen. They shared more than weight. Many facts of their respective biographies corresponded as well. Like Hagen, Molimo had never been much of an athlete. All he would do was sit in his father's shop and sell authentic Native American souvenirs, actually manufactured in China, to gullible tourists. But then he suddenly got interested in martial arts and made a stellar career over a very short time, from small local amateur contests to statewide championships. This is how he'd gotten into the qualifying matches after having been seen by one of the recruiters. But that wasn't the only thing they had in common. The word Molimo stood for a bear who creeps in the shadows, in the Miwok language. One of the sports commentators even quipped about there never having been any nickname in the entire history of sport that would be so at odds with the athlete's appearance. For instance, the only thing that resembled a bear in Mike Bjorn Hagen was his tattoo, whereas Molimo looked more like a mongoose, agile, fast, and precise. Both fighters were lean and nimble. Both had a good technique. They both preferred hitting the opponent to grappling or